Pickle, let's go to the hotline, and let's bring in the Texas High School Football Hall of Famer. You hear him on the horn in Austin every morning from 10 to noon. And then you also see him on High School Scoreboard Live on Friday nights on Fox Sports Southwest. We're joined by the great Craig Way. Craig, how are things in beautiful Austin, Texas?
They are beautiful. It's like it is in so many other parts of the state, I guess, this week. It's been really nice. Temperature in the low 70s. I mean, this is what November is supposed to look like in the state of Texas, right? I mean, people could talk about how hot it is on the other, but this is kind of what it's supposed to look like this time of year. So it's great, which means it's great for football, assuming, you have games on the field. We do have some games. It's unfortunate that some fallen by the wayside, and some more probably before the week is out. But the ones that are up there, we've got some good ones this week.
We do. We have got a great slate. But I do want to ask you a little bit about Week 11, because I know, you and I in our conversations, I know this is one of your favorite weeks, because I know you've used the phrase unwrapping the package, unwrapping the present for the playoffs. But obviously, this year is different, because it will be the final week of the regular season for 4A and below, but 6A and 5A, we've got to wait another 4 weeks before we're getting to their portion of unwrapping the present. So, I guess, does that diminish in your mind a little bit of the celebration, the fun of this week? Or is it, hey, we're getting some playoff brackets, we're just happy to have them?
Well, I've given that a lot of thought, Tep. Really and truly. I've thought about that a lot. And I've really relegated it into, and I don't know, I didn't live this experience, but some of my friends did in the past, or some of my kids' friends have. So I would say, look at it, if we're truly talking about unwrapping the playoff package, like a big present you open up, just think of high school football in Texas as coming from divorced parents. You're getting 2 Christmases this year, okay? You're getting a chance to open up sets of presents. One this week to decide who's getting in from 4A down through 1A, and then in a few weeks, 5A and 6A. I think that's the best way to look at it. It's probably the only way we look. Hey, we get to see who's getting into the playoffs and who's going. How it will slide in 6A in terms of Division I and Division II. So yeah, it's probably the best way to look at it and say, look, we get to open the playoff package twice. Maybe that means you're getting 2 Christmases.
And obviously this week is going to be a lot of fun, but I do want to look back on last week. And one thing that struck me about last week's results there were a couple of games that we had our eye on that ended up being decided by relatively eye-popping margins. Specifically, I know you were very excited about Timpson and Joaquin. Timpson ends up winning that game 63-0. And then both of us were interested in Mart and Bremond, potentially a last test for the number 1 Mart Panthers. They end up winning that game, I want to say 78-6 or something.
Yeah, they were up 50 at the half.
Yeah.
Up 50-0 at halftime. How do you, especially when you're dealing with teams that are very clearly at or near the top of their respective classifications, how do you factor in your own algebra as far as trying to identify these teams? How do you factor in these eye-popping margins? You only got to win a game by 1, but obviously some style points along the way can certainly help. How do you factor those in kind of as a whole?
Yeah, I like your use of the term algebra. It makes me think of the Chevy Chase line from Saturday Night Live when he was impersonating President Ford in the debate. It was my understanding there was to be no math. So, that said, I think, sometimes I look at some of those matchups, especially, and I think Timpson Joaquin falls into this category because you and I both said Joaquin's a good football team, but clearly they were blown out of the water by Timpson, and that caused, in your Dave Campbell's top 10 rankings, for Timpson to fall out. Of course, Panhandle's playing well, and so they merit the right to be in anyway, or Joaquin to fall out, rather, and Timpson to move up. I look at some of those kind of like how you look at a Super Bowl sometimes. You get 2 really good teams, or even in a college football national championship game, you get 2 really good teams, and one of them is hitting all cylinders, and they're playing like the really good team that they are, and for whatever reason, the other team is an off day or an off night, and they're not on. And the result can get lopsided. It's happened a lot in the past with some Super Bowls. And I think it happens like that. We've seen it happen in state championship games. And I think it's similar like that. I don't know that, in fact, I would say I know that Mart on a regular basis is at 72 points better than Bremont. Mm-hmm. However, last Saturday they were. Clearly, you could have gone 6-man on it and called it at the half when it was 50 to zip. You could have done that, and I think Bremont will be good going on down the road, just as I think Joaquin will be good going down the road. It's a tough and sometimes painful lesson for some of those teams to learn. But having said all that, I think it tells us probably more about how good the winning team was over, the other team. Are they really, were they pretenders? Are they really not that good? No, I think in both cases, both of those teams are good. It's just they were a bit off, and the teams that are really good handed them a pretty lopsided defeat, and those teams are legitimate contenders. In Mart's case, they're number one until somebody proves them differently, as we've been talking about for some time.
Talking with Craig Way, the Texas High School Football Hall of Famer here on Texas Football Today. Get involved in the conversation at #TF Today. All right, Craig, I want to ask you a little bit about one of the teams in your neck of the woods, which is Lake Travis, a team that off to an excellent start. Obviously, 4-0. They draw Austin Bowie this week. They have been, curiously, doing this with their backup quarterback, with Bo Edmondson. And obviously they have an outstanding quarterback who's been injured for, I believe, the entirety of the season in Nate Yarnell, who is a star in his own right. Call it good problems having quarterbacks of that talent, as far as in stockpile. But you don't want to Wally Pip anybody. But at the same time, seems like Bo Edmondson's doing just fine with this offense. In your conversations with Hank Carter, has this come up as far as what, if and when, obviously we hope Nate Yarnell gets healthy as soon as possible, if and when Nate Yarnell is ready to go, have they given any thought to what they're going to do at the quarterback spot?
I think right now they're still going to ride the hot hand of the sophomore Bo Edmondson. It's all going well. Now, Lake Travis is in the situation that some other really good teams across the state are in, and that is you get up big in a game, and then you can get the other kid in the ball game and see how it is. And I think that may be the case with regard to Nate Yarnell. I don't know that necessarily they're going to get up huge amounts on Bowie, but they could. And Bowie is a solid team, but Lake Travis has beaten other solid teams by wide margins this season. I think most folks are expecting both Lake Travis and Westlake to continue beating their opponents by lopsided margins until they meet on Black Friday. So I think the easiest answer in Hank Carter's case is you stick with your plan, you go with your starter, and then when you get to margin where you want to mix the other quarterback in, even if it's in the second quarter, say it's a 21-0 ball game or whatever, and the game isn't completely decided, you get the other kid some reps. You keep them both sharp, because we've learned two things about Lake Travis over the years with the great run, the drive for 5 and everything else, and the 6 overall titles, is if we've learned nothing else, we've learned two things. One, that they have outstanding quarterbacks every year who are going to get college scholarships. Two, that they seem to get a quarterback gets hurt every year, and the other one has to step in. That's already happened this year, so it could happen that way.
Finally, Craig, you had been last week and the week before and the week before, you'd been banging the drum for Joaquin and Timpson. You've been saying Joaquin and Timpson's going to be the game I'm most excited about, it seems like in this week 11, pretty much at every level, you've got your pick of the litter as far as quality games that are easy to get excited about. Is there a game that you are going to have particularly sharp eyes on for week 11? I mean, Matt Stepp and I were talking about this week goes 25, 30, 40 deep of real quality games. Is there a game or two that you are really, really excited about?
Well, you and Stepp are right. It's difficult to choose one or the other. A couple come to mind. One in an upper classification, two in an upper classification, and one in the lower. Mm-hmm. The two in the upper one, the one Pickle's going to be at Battle and Beltline, mm-hmm. certainly with Cedar Hill and DeSoto. That's one. The one that's really got my attention, obviously, is Highland Park at Longview. Mm-hmm. Finding out more about Highland Park after the delayed start, and finding out more about Longview after stubbing their toe early against Temple. Those two come come to mind. And I think Wellington and Wheeler is one to watch on the lower classification. So I think those are the ones that kind of stand out. But you're right. You can't really make a bad choice, at least in advance of the games that we're looking forward to seeing this week.
It's a really fun week of Texas high school football, and of course we will have it covered for you on High School Scoreboard Live on Friday night, where you can see Craig Way, the Texas High School Football Hall of Famer. Craig, appreciate your time, my friend, and I will see you on Friday.
And looking forward to it. Thanks.
There he goes. Craig Way, the Texas High School Football Hall of Famer, joins us every Tuesday here on Texas Football Today.